I find myself in the car with my mother heading towards my grandfather's house. Because of the muddy situation Dad left in the wake of my parents' divorce, my mom bought a small place for her and I, but it won't be ready for a couple months. So at least for the summer, we're living with my grandfather. He lives about 30 minutes outside of the closest town, though even calling it a town is probably an exaggeration. I mean, it's not even big enough to have a Walmart or a McDonald's. I haven't been to my grandfather's house since my grandmother passed away, which must have been a long time ago as I can't even remember having gone to her funeral. I vaguely remember the shape of her face and that her voice was kind and gentle, but I can't remember much else. As we pull onto the dirt road leading to my grandfather's house, there's not a single thing in sight. No neighbors, no buildings of any kind, just nothing. I feel like the only appropriate word to describe it is lonely. The past 10 minutes traveling down the dusty dirt road revealed nothing but dark woods closing in on either side, and in the 5 more minutes it takes to get to my grandfather's, the passing scenery is nothing more than a seemingly endless ocean of trees. My grandfather's house is set on a cleared lot some ways back from the road, surrounded on all sides by the dense, dusky forest. My grandfather, tall and lanky with a stoic look on his face, greets us at the door. My mom runs up and wraps her arms around him. "It's good to see you, Dad." He puts a half-hearted arm around her and pats her back. "Glad you made it safe, Molly." Looking over her shoulder, he gives me a nod. "Tim." "Hey, Grandpa," I say, raising one arm in half-greeting. My grandfather lets go of my mom and looks up toward the darkening sky. Shoving his hands into his jean pockets, he says, "Well, let's get you inside and settled." We quickly unpack the few things we have in my mom's small car. Most of our stuff is in a storage unit waiting for the new place to be ready. My grandfather shows me to a small room on the second floor. "This will be your room, Tim. I know it's not much, but I hope it'll do until you're ready to move into your other place. I haven't had many visitors over the years, so I went into town and got a new mattress for the bed. I hope it'll be comfortable." "It's fine, Grandpa. Thanks." I look out the window to the forest beyond. For a moment, something comes over me. A strange, uneasy calm. A feeling that I could easily stare at those trees forever, losing myself in the leafy abyss. My grandfather, noticing, clears his throat, saying, "You shouldn't go into the forest alone. Woods like that know those who haven't grown up around trees. They like to mess with you, get you all twisted around and make you lose your way." "Yeah," I say, tearing my gaze away. "Yeah, I'll be careful." He nods thoughtfully. "Good. I'll go downstairs and finish up dinner. Come down when you've unpacked a bit." My grandfather put together a hearty stew for us. He labors over a big pot while my mom offers to help more times than I can count, but my grandfather will hear nothing of it. "You're guests in my house," he says. "It's my job to feed you, at least your first meal here." My mom laughs. "But Dad, you always make too much." He just shakes his head. "I make enough. That's what counts." After dinner, I spend most of my time trying to get any video game to work without a decent internet connection and watching spinning wheels while my phone tries to download videos. I sigh. It's going to be a long summer. That night, I lay in my new bed, unable to sleep. The mattress is comfortable enough, but it's my first time sleeping somewhere without the sounds of the city. The unfamiliar silence is unnerving, heavy, like a blanket pressing down on me. Sounds coming from my window might have been quiet in any other setting, but here, it might as well be a jackhammer on the glass. I roll over to look, but see nothing. The same sound, but now it sounds like it's coming from the wall beneath the window. The light tapping seems to be moving now, along the wall opposite my bed and toward the closet. It hangs there for a moment before moving back toward the window, then beyond it, along the wall, closer toward where I lay. When it reaches the point where I swear I could reach out and feel whatever was making the noise through the wall, the tapping stops. Unable to stand it anymore, I jump from bed and go to the window. Some deep instinct refuses to let me open it, so I just try to crane my neck and look about at different angles. I don't see anything. But while I look out the window, a bobbing, faint light in the woods catches my eye. Maybe it's a firefly and it appearing to be in the woods is just a trick of perspective, but a few seconds of watching it move ever closer toward the house and the forest's edge convinces me otherwise. Then, the light breaks free of the trees, and I see it as a person carrying a candle-lit torch. Within a minute, I recognize it's my grandfather, making his way back to the house. I duck down under the window frame, as to not be so obvious, but I don't stop watching him until he passes beneath my window, and I hear a door creak quietly open and close downstairs. In the morning, I come downstairs to find my mom in the kitchen. I thought I'd repay my dad with some breakfast, she says. Did you not sleep well? She asks after inspecting what I know are bags under my eyes. It was fine, just couldn't get used to being in a strange bed. She nods like she understands. Also, I heard this weird noise. It was like something was tapping on my window and walls. I don't want to mention Grampa being in the woods. I don't know why, but it seems like whatever he was doing was his own business. Every house has a personality when it's old enough, and this is an old house. Probably mice, my grandpa says, entering the kitchen with a nod of hello. Just keep the windows closed. Don't want anything getting inside. I'll put some traps around. The day wanders on, long and uneventful. I kill the time with a handful of games I find that don't immediately crash with the poor hotspot signal from my cell phone, and exploring parts of the house, which turns out to be deceptively big. Pictures of my mom at every age dot the place, along with numerous pictures of my grandmother. It's refreshing to see her face and fill in the foggy gaps in my memory. One of the rooms on the ground floor has a wood rocking chair and baskets filled with faded yarn. Your grandma loved to knit, my mom says. I told Dad to clean this room out, but he said it didn't feel right since... Well, anyway, I guess now that I'm living here again, I kind of understand. The house would feel wrong otherwise. That night, I lay wide awake in bed again. I can't say whether it's still the strangeness of the bed or anxiety that I will hear something strange again. As if summoned by my thinking about it, the noise returns. This time, it's louder and seems more insistent. It travels along all four sides of the window frame and pauses at the bottom. The noise makes me sit bolt upright. Something heavy and wet presses against the window, sliding around as if trying to find a grip. Wood groans as the window lock strains against the latch. I huddle myself up to the side of the bed furthest from the window, trying to make myself as small as possible. The sound moves along the wall away from my bed once again. It alternates high and low on the wall, the same way I'd once seen my dad knocking on drywall looking for a stud to drill into. It flips up, down, several times at the end of the wall before moving back toward the window. Back toward me. I pull the covers close under my nose and hold my breath. It reaches the section of the wall above the head of the bed. All it needs to do is shift a few feet down, and it'll be right at the level of my head. My body tenses, readying to leap. But the sound never comes. For a moment, I think I've somehow gone deaf. It's so devastatingly quiet. No wind, no insects, no night birds. Just the sound of my heart pounding in my ears and my aching body asking me to remember to breathe again. I nearly fall from the bed at the sound, but it isn't anything like I'd just heard. It rings with a metallic edge. Maybe one of the mouse traps my grandpa said he'd put out? I inch toward the window and peer out. Again, I see a faint glow emerging from the forest. This time, I go downstairs to meet my grandpa. He stops for a moment upon seeing me, but then proceeds to lock the door behind him as if he was just coming in from a midday stroll. "You're up late, Tim," he says. "Why were you in the woods?" I ask. I'm too freaked out to be tactful. He walks past me into the kitchen, going to the sink, and rinses a plate. "There's a feral cat out there," he finally says. "I leave it some food each night. It doesn't like coming near the house, so I have to go into the woods." Even to my city-born ears, the story sounds far-fetched, but I'm a guest, and knowing there is still a long time to go before we can leave, I don't want to get on Grandpa's bad side. "I heard the noise again," I say. "It was worse than last night. I noticed you coming to the house because that's when it stopped." He stops moving, his shoulders tense. "You didn't open the window, did you?" he asks. I shake my head as he glances back at me. "Good." He wipes the plate dry and puts it away. "Make sure you don't." Why doesn't the cat like coming near the house if you're good to it? I can't stop myself anymore from asking. To my relief, he doesn't look angry. If anything, he seems a little deflated and sad. "Once the thing has gone to the woods, it stays there. That's the way of it. Just like those of us who live in houses aren't about to go live in the woods." Again, my brain wants to argue that statement from a bunch of different angles, but something about the look on his face makes me stay silent. For a moment, my grandfather looks so much older, so much more worn, and very, very alone. My grandpa and I don't say much to each other the next day. Even though I don't know what's going on, I feel like I know a secret about him that makes us both uncomfortable. At dinner, we eat in silence, until Grandpa gives an odd groan. "Dad, what's wrong?" My mom gets up from her seat. Grandpa clutches at his chest. "Tim, call 911. Use the phone there." She nods to a phone on the wall. "The rural route address is above it." It takes an agonizingly long time for the ambulance to arrive. As the paramedics load Grandpa onto the stretcher, it's like something suddenly changes in him. as if the realization that he is leaving his property wakes something inside him. Pushing through his pain, he strains to reach up off the stretcher. "No!" he cries, looking wildly from my mother to the medics. I can't go. I'm the only one. Without me." He suddenly falls silent, his eyes closing and his body slumping onto the stretcher. The paramedics rush him out. "I'm going to follow behind to the hospital," my mum says. "It would be best if you stay here, because I'm probably going to be there into the morning. I'll call you with any updates." I give a feeble, "Okay," but she's already out the door. I watch the rear lights of the ambulance and my mum's car disappear into the gloom of the evening forest. I go around the house and lock all the doors and windows. I sit down on the couch and try to find something on my grandpa's old television, though even that is limited in the number of offered channels. After the past 2 nights of little sleep, I guess I pass out, because when I next look at the television, it's some different show than the one I'd been watching. I rub my eyes and flip channels again. This time, the noise is different, and at the back door, I freeze. Do I turn off the TV? Or does that make it more obvious? The doorknob rattles. The knocking becomes louder, more insistent. The sound pounds along the outside walls of the house, beginning to move from the back door to the front. Pictures hanging on the wall jump from the force. I feel as if the house is swaying, buckling under the strain of the blows. The banging increases in speed as it approaches the front door, and then the doorknob rattles at the front. Something slams its weight against the door. I dash for the kitchen, grabbing a knife from the counter. I calculate whether I could go out the back door, but where? The only place to go is the woods. Strangely, my grandfather's words ring in my ears. Those of us who live in houses aren't about to go and live in the woods. In that moment, it seems more of a warning than an old-fashioned saying. Don't go into the woods. The sound at the door abruptly stops. Is it over? I jump as my cell phone buzzes in my pocket. Hello? Tim, it's Mom. Listen, Grandpa's going into surgery, but as he was going, he woke up and made me swear to tell you to get the key from under the welcome mat at the front door. As if on cue, I hear metal sliding against metal. I peer down the darkened hall toward the front door. It slowly swings open, but I can't see anything there. Tim? I can't speak. Tim, are you there? I can barely hear my mom. My ears fill with hushed, teasing whispers, impossible to make out. But something in them calls me, makes my head feel light and cloudy. I serenely step out into the hall. Oh, I tranquilly say, staring at the thing at the front door. Hi, Grandma. Cat! Cat! Come on, Catherine. You gotta bring the boy home.